right across Island Grove Road from Corporate Center.
Is there a property owner between them? Pay into some of the renovation. We bought the building, but the state farm gave us a really nice deal. But so separating it is just us. So that's going to be nice too. But that's sort of more money convert to little kids.
We'll pick up the water for the data centers. Probably will.
I feel like there's been more others since then, but.
All right, we'll table that for after. The May 6, 2026 meeting of the McLean County Regional Planning Commission will come to order at 4:01 p.m. Attendance will be
This conference will now be recorded.
And a quorum is present. Is there anyone from the public who wishes to address the commission? And I think we have one speaker sign up. Tricia is ready.
I have a, oh, okay. I have one coming. This month, I have emailed staff and legal counsel regarding concerns about the structure and operation of the Regional Comprehensive Plan Project Steering Committee, including questions related to this commission's bylaws and Open Meetings Act compliance. I have copies of those emails here should you care to reference them after the meeting. I chose to raise my concerns directly with the commission and staff, first because I believe this body has the opportunity, and I respect you enough to give you the chance to address them openly and thoughtfully. I received an email response yesterday signed by the chair and the executive director and CC'd the assistant state's attorney, with whom I've also corresponded. It asserted in the email that the comp plan PSC is not subject to the OMA Act, that it's not functioning as a committee, and that it is a working group. The effect of that position is that the workings of the PSC may not be publicly visible in the same way as a formally recognized committee. The email references guidance from the Attorney General's office. Through FOIA, I've now confirmed that the Public Access Bureau did not issue a written opinion regarding the PSC. The guidance referenced by staff was informal verbal guidance provided over the phone based on information relayed. I can say that I too have verbal guidance offered to me over the phone by an attorney at the Public Access Bureau. This afternoon, I appeal to you that this really isn't just a legal question, it's a governance question. Even if the PSC is ultimately determined not to be legally required to operate under OMA, this commission still has a choice about what standard of transparency and accountability you want to uphold in a major planning process. Right now, as I have witnessed, the PSC is functioning in many ways like a formal committee. It has identified members, elected co-chairs, recurring meetings, presentations, recordings, and a defined role in helping shape the regional comprehensive plan. And at the April meeting, my recollection is that the committee members were told that their work would ultimately be recommended to the county board for policy adoption. That matters because the public deserves clarity about who is participating in the process, how it's operating, and what role your commission intends to play in overseeing it. So this commission can choose minimal interpretation of transparency obligations, or you can choose a higher level of public accountability. You can formalize the PSC under your bylaws. You can clarify its role publicly, make materials and recordings available, and ensure the public has meaningful visibility into how this work is being shaped. Or you can choose a process with less public visibility, which risks eroding public trust and potentially placing the work at risk in future legal challenges. So in closing, I'd like to say that public transparency isn't something to avoid. You have the opportunity and a rare privilege to embrace transparency as a core value as a commission. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no other speakers signed up for today. So with that, we'll move to the consent agenda. Does any member wish to remove an item for the consent agenda for separate discussion? Is there a motion and second to approve all items in agenda item section 4, the consent agenda?
Motion approved. Second.
All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Right. With that, we do not have any regular agenda items under number 5. And so we would like to move to the items for information or discussion from staff. First, we have Luke with the Regional Housing Initiatives update.
Good afternoon, everyone. Here are the Regional Housing Initiative updates for May. Under local updates, last month we chaired the April 2026 Housing Staff Meeting, and we also submitted the Town of Normal's 4th quarter report. And in the coming weeks, we will also be submitting the City of Bloomington's 4th quarter report. And then the McLean County Housing Dashboard is now available on our website, the updated version. And moving on to other updates, MCRPC has been working with the City of Bloomington regarding some data requests for a housing rehabilitation project. And then last month, we also attended the Housing Coalition and the Unhoused Task Force meetings, where we are providing assistance to the Housing Coalition by drafting a survey to gather input from partner agencies on what data can be used for regular reporting and grant writing needs. Last week, the city, town, and MIRA, or the Mid-Illinois Realtors Association, hosted the Housing and Resource Fair. Over 30 local organizations offered housing rights information, legal help, health services, and other services. And over 200 people attended, according to Mr. Bessler. Speaking of fair, later this month, the McLean County Care Fair will be on May 21st, Thursday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Eastview Community Center, where agencies will be providing showers, haircuts, care packages, health screenings, meals, etc. to those in need. And then finally, next week, staff will be attending the Home Illinois Summit in Springfield. This summit will bring together service providers, policymakers, and people with lived experience to share community-driven solutions to address homelessness. Those are the updates that I have. If you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Great. Any updates on the housing coordinator position, the RISE implementation grant?
The RFP is being finalized and will be submitted to legal next week for the review. And after that, then we'll publish it a few weeks, and hopefully there will be applications to come. Yes.
Right, next we have the Human Services Transportation Plan. Jen.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, we've had a very active period on the Human Services Transportation Plan for a region of 5 counties, known as Region 6. And we are closing in on the completion of this fiscal year's tasks. So we have an updated set of bylaws that confirm our adherence to the Open Meetings Act with respect to Region 6 meetings and sets parameters for membership on the Region 6 Planning Committee, which will replace the existing technical and policy committees. And all of this is pursuant to our coordination agreement with IDOT, the Office of Intermodal Planning and Implementation. So as an amendment to the current Region 6 plan, which will also go forward in June, revises references to current status of public rural transit in the Region 6. So we now have 3 providers serving 5 counties, and that's going to be reflected in this amendment to the plan. Thomas, thankfully, keeps our HSDP website updated, including in the information regarding the set of providers and which counties they serve, and also information on how to contact us with questions and other items of interest. The bylaws update and the plan amendment are action items for the regional meeting that takes place on June 15th. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with the Veterans Parkway Corridor Plan update.
Yeah, the project, as you all know by now, because it's getting to the last phase, with the projects anticipated to be completed by September of this year, and it's still on time and on budget. And the consultants and the working group, the staff working on it. The last meeting was just a few weeks ago, and the next one is going to be this Friday. In fact, at the last meeting, the consultant were sharing, what I got. They and their consultants then back in 2021 did some study about the intersection of Route 9 and Veterans Parkway. And so there were a number of alternatives being looked at that time, narrowed it down to 2. But IDOT has not taken further action yet. It's kind of pending the work program, looking at like 2 alternatives, but they are still kind of open to other ideas and whatnot. But it's probably, from what we gather, it'll be a few years down the road, on their work program. So in the meantime, the consultants, keep working on the preferred alternative, for the 10-mile corridor, which is to have shared path on both sides of the road, but they're going to do some improvements to the 10-mile roadway, as well as some improvements to the intersections to enhance safety and whatnot, to allow people not just be auto-oriented, but to accommodate pedestrians, bicyclists, and whatnot. And so soon, when the more discussion will be done, and there will be reports, and then a final draft will be available for your review and for others, and we'll also share with the public when they put the draft report together. So we'll see what happens this Friday at the next meeting. We'll report back to you in the next month's meeting. Questions? Thank you. Yeah.
The regional comp plan updates.
Yeah, and while Anthony is working on and taking his position, I'll just share or distribute the project steering committee from the last meeting and also the roster. If I may, just FYI, you don't have to look at them. We can look at them after the meeting.
Well, while raising those out, I'll get to my update. It's a little bit related to that. That's a little bit more detail than I've got here. But what we've done since the last time we met, we hosted the first project steering committee meeting on April 14th. Great turnout, good participation. It was the first meeting, so we're still trying to, kind of get everybody involved and get a little bit more interaction with some of those members. Initially, we talked about some of the early stuff, so the title of the plan, logo, initial look at the first survey that we're wanting to put out. And we got some good comments from that that we'll go back and consider taking any of those comments and making updates. That PSC is scheduled to meet every month throughout the planning process, which is aimed for the end of this summer of 2027. The next major steps in the comp plan process is going to be initiating the first round of, or the first public engagement campaign. We're hoping that we'll be able to do an official kickoff of all of the public engagement activities after this next PSC. That initiation includes the publication of the website for the comprehensive plan with all its interactive features, distribution of promotional materials throughout the county. That includes some paper flyers, digital and hard copy that we'll send out, social media posts, and the roughly 2,000 people on our mass mailing list. With that, there's also going to be the publication of the first survey. That first survey is going to focus on gathering information to form a vision statement for McLean County. So essentially, we're going to be asking members of the public relatively high-level questions. So there's nothing super heavy-hitting in this first survey by design. We want people to get engaged. We want people to actually respond to the survey and come to the website and see what we're working on. Let them know that it's going to be about a 1.5-year long process and to stay with us. So that's going to be the first part of this public engagement campaign. With that, there's also going to be some in-person workshops and informational meetings for members of the public to be scheduled. We haven't gotten quite there yet, but that's next after this first kickoff. Other than that, that's it. Really, that's what we're working on so far. Still kind of early stages of outreach and kind of ironing all of the early stuff out. Any questions?
So this is the final list. Are there any at-large people to be added? Or?
List of the PSC. There's a couple TBDs on there. A few people who have had some personal interference, personal things happen that they can't see, but we're still waiting to go back in. Two.
Yeah, we were still waiting for 2 organizations to confirm the representatives, and just want to note that when staff invite these individuals to serve on this working group, really they just don't necessarily represent that particular organizations per se, because they have different skills, they work different aspects, they participate, maybe sometimes in like different organizations engage, and they're also serving as residents, being members of the public. So they actually wear many hats, and that's one of the reasons why they were invited and to really put that kind of bring different perspectives to the process, and not that this group is the only way that for us to get input. There will be, as what Anthony was saying, there will be opportunities that we have planned and working on the details how to engage more public opinions.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you.
Right, and the final staff update and report is from Jennifer on the Metropolitan Transportation Planning.
Once again, a walk of shame. As I think some of you will recall from earlier years, this is a plan, the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, that we do every 5 years at the behest of our friends at the federal government. We used to call it the Long Range Transportation Plan for our NPO area for our county. Those rules have changed, and that title is now the province of the states. So we are calling it the Metropolitan Transportation Plan because that's what the feds want to see. We do this not just because it's required of us, but because it helps us keep a handle on what transportation changes have been made, what kinds of services are created, what gaps in available service still persist that we can address. And we do that through the means of this plan. We've largely finished designing the project schedule to ensure that the MTP, as we're now calling it, can be completed. The document itself, approved by our Transportation Technical and Policy Committees, and submitted to IDOT and the Federal Highway Administration by September of next year. The plan is actually due in October. We're giving ourselves a little bit of space in which to make sure that we have everything put together and those committees can meet, and possibly so that at the beginning of October of next year, the commission can also review the plan. They're meeting at the beginning of that month. So we're developing maps and text for the 2 chapters of the document. The first is laid out the introduction, in which essentially explain to the public why it is we engage in this exercise, not just again because we're required to, but because it gives us an every 5 years opportunity to see what's missing in our system, what is dangerous in our system, what requires attention in our transportation system, and so on, and how we go about doing that. The second chapter will relate to then existing conditions, so that we'll have maps and text and illustrations and whatever else is required to sort of explain where we are now over the next year. And so that at the end of next spring, we'll have a sort of comprehensive look at that, which will have been vetted. We will release that later on this year so that people can review it and tell us about things we may have missed or misinterpreted. Earlier today, we met in a group to discuss the population projections that are part of this plan. This is an ongoing conversation as our expert on this topic and local staff are sort of considering the implications of an early draft of this process. That too will be open for discussion later this year. I keep referencing Thomas, but it's appropriate. We're refining the website section for the MTP to launch fairly soon, and that will simply be a recapitulation of what's in those opening chapters. Again, the existing conditions will go out a little bit later this year, and we are finalizing the membership of the project steering committee and its schedule because we have so many projects going on at the moment that we don't want to overbook people in terms of presence on the steering committee. And we want to make sure we can schedule everything so that, the county plan, this plan, and the other things that we're in the process of doing don't interfere with one another. And, Ray reported on the Veterans Parkway study that's in progress. That will end at the end of the summer. So that will be one less thing to compete. But even so, we want to make sure we don't have people on multiple steering committees so that they feel as though they have come up for air. Any questions on the MTP? Thank you.
Okay. Any other staff updates or reports?
Let's see. We will be, I wish Jake was here. We're here, actually, Jake, our staff. He's doing the live stream behind the scene today because I always manages on vacation. But just wanted to point out that, he's helping to coordinate with WGLT on some of the transportation safety announcements. And so in May, we'll try to take advantage of that media and try to get some of the messaging out to encourage people just to put a seatbelt on and drive safe and all those good stuff. So just want to let you know, this is just the beginning of more campaigns we try to do, and with more public events coming up in the summer, whether it's county fair and whatnot, and we're also trying to get the message out. So just I recognize him. He's behind the scene on the screen. He could hear us. But just wanted to mention that. Other than that, I will.
For the commissioners, are there any other matters to come before the commission?
Yeah, I just I had some questions that I need clarified. It seemed to me like the project steering committee is is a citizens advisory committee and would fall under our bylaw about that. So I'm sort of under the assumption that we need to vote to actually establish that. And so maybe somebody, if it is a working group, that we don't need to formally establish, if I can just get some explanation so I can better understand what the difference is and how this is not something that we need to vote to establish.
And would it be helpful to, and certainly welcome to other thoughts, would it be helpful to reset on like the purpose and, I mean,
Yeah,
we have the makeup here and sort of the intended responsibilities and such of that. I mean, we have time to go into that, right? So I think like resetting on that. So I looked at my notes, like it was discussed for sure. My notes might not be great in like March and April. And at no point was it discussed that it needed to be formalized. And so I think we're having a discussion now. So if we can sort of reset on that, and Ray and Anthony, and the vision for the PSC.
And I would say this. This is no different, from some of the major projects you just heard updates on the metropolitan long range. I mean, the transportation plan, it used to be called 2022, the long range transportation plan. There was SS4A, if you recall, that was just adopted not long ago. It was under federal grant and for safety related transportation safety. There were other projects that we have done in the past, and so it's the regional comprehensive plan is one of the things we do, and so as one of the best planning practices, and we have many years combining all the staff members here, that the staff can create whatever plan, right? But we would value input from others, related disciplines or people that we understand they work on a day-to-day basis, maybe, or because the association or the organizations that they serve, that they could bring in perspectives to help staff to help to develop whatever the plan, whatever their project. So it's not something new that we create a working group, regardless of the name is called. And I know sometimes the name committee, when there's a term, that it conveys that, it sounds formal. And so it is a group that we don't have to. I mean, staff, we can do the work, but we want to take advantage of the expertise and some other committee members, and to just bring some perspectives that we may overlook. And now, even with this group, like I said before, it's not exclusive that's the only way for us to get input. There will be other opportunities because we have 170,000 residents in the county. And who do we pay here? And they'll, when we want to have a group size that's become manageable, and then that would work efficiently, and then we can bring perspectives that to help staff be able to do our work. And so, and we're trying to be we want to have some flexibility also, because not that we want to tie anything, and like what we do, we come to the commission every month to give you updates and just that to have a group to provide some input for staff to do our work. And so that's that kind of a working group is not unusual, even not just this place. We work with our staff and myself. We work with many others.
Okay, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you. But what is the difference between a working group and this type of the Citizens Advisory Committee that we need to formalize? Like, I'm just wondering why we don't formalize the PSC.
Yeah.
Are they not making ultimately a recommendation that will become policy of some kind?
We do have some we do have some formal committees, right? As some of you may know, we have some transportation policy committee, we have transportation technical committee that also they bring input, and to a certain extent the policy committee would vote on certain items. And in terms of working group versus the citizen advisory committee, the working group we see as a little bit more informal in that people feel free to talk about things, bring their perspectives, give some input. We ask for suggestions, staff would ask for suggestions on some of the ideas staff will bring forth. And the citizen advisory committee, I think, is a formal group that if needed, there's no other way or there's some specific issue that's unusual, then it's to be looked at if we have a budget crisis or we have some other situations that warrant citizen, like a group, if the committee, you don't think you can handle that type of situations or to address those issues and whatnot, then you may want to form a more formal citizen advisory committee to provide input to the commission. And this is, to us, it's a work project, and that's why it's not unusual, for us to form a working group.
Can we just call it a working group instead of?
We can
clarify the distinction? Because I think that would be sure clarifying.
Yeah,
everything.
definitely. Yeah, we can do that definitely. Yeah, just a suggestion.
So, but I guess my question though goes back to like if the group is making a recommendation with
I
this,
understand the question.
right? So
It's a recommendation if it can or cannot be adopted. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah.
This is a policy. This is here's like a guidance, and then they can decide.
Who is it making the recommendation to?
yeah,
Would
is my
it be
question.
to the county board,
Right.
or would it be back to this group and then go through us to the county board?
For staff, I think we would solicit their input, right? Recommendations. Say if we have a draft plan, somebody with a draft report, a draft plan, then they will make our to the staff, for our review and adoption and whatnot. Then the staff will finalize a document, a plan document, and at that point, actually similar to the most recent the strategic land use plan, if you recall, just a few months ago, and then we'll let because we really we don't enforce. Just so that you understand, and maybe you do already. The county government, the city of Bloomington, the town of Normal, when they took this guide and blueprint or vision, really, they are not laws. Then you cannot, we cannot tell people, hey, you have to do this, otherwise, if you don't, you go to jail or go to court. But rather, it's a policy, it's a guide, it's a reference for the elected officials to when they determine certain policies or certain actions or make certain decisions. It's a reference. Like many zoning cases, they use their comprehensive plan to make smaller decisions.
Yeah. So Ray, in essence, the comprehensive plan, the draft, whatever gets put together by this committee, will come to us first.
For your acceptance, or like what we did with the strategic land use plan. Yeah.
So it would come for us to receive it and file it, and then it gets directed to the county.
Yeah.
And the county is the one that would then vote to implement any and all of that plan.
But it also sounds, and forgive me if I get this wrong, but it sounds like whatever the plan ends up being would be driven by staff taking whatever good recommendations or input that the group may offer. It doesn't sound like the group is independently going to come up with any recommendations.
Correct.
Staff is going to take the input and use that in staff's work.
Correct.
Is that a fair?
Yes.
Yeah, and even though staff makes those recommendations, it's ultimately up to the county board to decide
Sure.
what's going to happen in the long run. Those are the decision makers in terms of things.
Sure.
But I understand the question, the requirements for operations is different for a working group than a committee. So how do you decide which is which? And
I guess I'm just like, I'm recognizing that we all have, we're obligated and we are responsible for the work. Like I looked at our flow chart, right, and commissioners are, so I would feel most comfortable if we could just vote to situate this as a citizens advisory committee. And that's just my feeling on it. It feels like this is too consequential to say it's just a recommendation. This will have real world consequence. And
I'm struggling calling it a citizens falling under citizens advisory because I'm looking at the roles of these individuals and they all hold specific intentional and bringing in, the intentional perspectives for the planning process. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's not a citizens group, that these are more role specific. To me, a citizens advisory council is more of a body that you would use to collect feedback on the planning process, or to collect surveys, or to collect feedback about issues broadly. But these individuals seem to be on this particular team because they bring a unique and specific perspective that is important to the planning process. So that's not an advisory council to me in terms of the way I think of a traditional citizens advisory council. So I don't feel like it fits the philosophy of it. I certainly respect the desire for things to be more transparent, and I think that is something we could, as a commission, request more details and minutes and that type of thing, as a group. But to then subject, by making it a formal committee of this body, subjects then all of this work to a lot more rules and regulations and state law that could become then cumbersome to facilitating the process when it's not a typical thing that would be subject to those rules. It's just the work that they do.
An example of what one of those rules that you're thinking about?
So in terms of meetings, it would be subject to Open Meetings Act rules, so that certain conversations would have to be moved to closed session. Things would need to be done within a particular order and following Robert's rules. Where this is, a planning group like this, I think we've certainly all been on different planning groups where the discussion is more open and free, and where you're brainstorming and you're feeding off of each other. And to have that type of thing be subject to a formal meeting process and all of those rules, I think limits the creativity and the flow of ideas that could occur in a group like this. So that's just a perspective. Yeah.
Or is this group, are you open to just anyone showing up at your meetings, or is it by invite only?
This group is by invitation, but the staff level, it's intended to bring as well spoken, bring certain perspectives, because the work expertise and whatnot, and to open that we have to talk about it. We have to think over that would defeat the purpose. And again, the free flow of information or sharing of ideas, then the working group may feel, maybe they want to don't want to share freely as they would like, and nothing really too high either. Like what I said, we come to the commission every month to bring you updates and highlights and answer questions that you all may have. So but we just want to also respect, that they do have sometimes, as we all work with different groups, that they want to feel freely because they have the same purpose that we do. So,
and you have many groups in every committee report, every director, the transportation group and housing, you reported on multiple meetings, and none of those memberships are approved by us, right? And each staff member is facilitating multiple committees of bringing experts, subject matter experts to the table to then compile the report to then bring to the larger body to then escalate up through the permit. That's the standard procedure for everything that you do.
Mm-hmm.
So
I would like it noted that I'm like a little uncomfortable, just given the fact that we are ultimately responsible for what happens, and as somebody who lives out in the county, this plan has a lot of consequence, and I know you all know that. And I don't need to say it, but so I'm gonna say it and like that noted. Are we able? So we are not able to attend the meetings.
We'll check. We'll check about your legal and whatnot.
Can I see? Would anybody else be in support of getting a copy of draft minutes at each meeting? Because otherwise we're going to be 60 days behind. Could we have a draft copy of the most meeting minutes? I think this is their.
That's what they said.
I requested this.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
And you even to be just the commissioner is ahead of us. We're going to start the next meeting, as pointed out, will be next week. We will share with the committee members. To be honest, once we share with them, and we have no problem sharing with the commission. I think you.
And I'm not asserting that you wouldn't, but I just think because meeting minutes need to be approved, and so you're not 60 days behind.
But actually, if it's not a formal committee and not under Open Meetings Act, then you have a lot more latitude to share information. Because if it was under Open Meetings Act, then sharing unofficial minutes that aren't approved by the group is a way of creating misinformation and it, I think, would be concerning. So I think leaving it allows more information to show and flow, because you're not restricted by all of those rules, and for something like this where you want creativity, where you want people to bring their ideas and expertise to the table, where they're representing for a specific purpose, because this person is in charge of planning, because this person represents the Farm Bureau. I think that to me is a very specific role versus a citizens advisory committee or citizens at large that are I'm just providing you my feedback, right? Yes. And that's what we get through the surveys that this process does.
I do have something to add, if I may. Everything that's going to come out of this group will be eventually open for the public to review. So it's not like decisions will be made in this group or suggested to staff that eventually make the decision to, update the plan. It's not like those things will not be open for review. There will be a public review period for the draft plan that's ultimately created. And so there will be ample opportunity for more than just that committee to create suggestions for the plan.
Right. Can I briefly explain the distinction between the transportation plan and the plan?
Sure, you think it helps.
Well, it's a question of who our constituents are for these various documents. Ultimately, for the transportation plan that we're discussing, our constituent, the people who decide whether or not it meets the standard, is the United States Department of Transportation. It is not a local body. USDOT puts forth a series of requirements for these plans, certain challenges that must be met in terms of identifying issues, determining solutions, establishing a financial plan for the next 30 years, which is functionally impossible. And so we work with them in deciding, how we approach certain of these issues. And we work locally. Our steering committee over the years has tended to be the transportation professionals from local governments, so people who do public works and something similar, who are intimately familiar with the state of the transportation system in our area and who contribute to it and determine projects and examine costs. And so all of that, our transportation committee meetings, policy and technical are open. Anyone can walk in and listen to what we're doing. Usually we're making changes incrementally in what the plan involves, but it is a technical process. It requires that our committee members have technical expertise that we can draw on in order to make determinations about how to proceed. And it's complicated. So we don't need or embrace the notion of a general public contribution, because frankly, we need to be able to use this document to educate people about how the transportation system works, how its status is determined, how much it costs, and where the money comes from, to help people understand why this complexity exists. So, totally different situation for the county plan. I was here when the last one was done in 2009. And I was certainly, except for Phil Dick, I think I'm the only person still around in county government or elsewhere that was involved in that effort. And it was a very different set of operating procedures than it is now, simply because I have greater need for transparency for people to understand what's going forward. And that's why you see on the list of the county comp plan steering committee, people with specific expertise who can react to things that are proposed and say, wait a minute, here's a barrier here, let's talk about this. And not having to feel as though they're being challenged in everything, because they really are subject matter experts. The same thing is true with transportation committees. I know the policy committee consists of elected officials or their designees. The technical committee consists of people with technical expertise. And they're essential because it's the only way we can work through the issues that arise every 5 years in the transportation plan. This is my 6th MTP in effect. And every time is a little bit different because every time the issues are a little bit different. Where the focus is from the federal level is different. Based on the last plan, we've gone very heavily into improving our understanding of the safety of the system and where corrections need to be made. And that was the origin of our Go Safe plan. This time around, we're continuing that safety focus and then saying, what else needs to be fixed? Are we fiscally conservative enough? Are we making the right assumptions? And that's where the subject matter experts come in. Different animal, different procedures. And of course, the county plan offers the option to say, here's how we want to do it. Here's how we think is the most effective way of approaching it. We're not bound in the county plan by federal regulations that say you will do this and so. And therefore, the ability to have that flexibility is one of the things that makes the plan stronger in the end. Thank you.
Thank you. So, related to the project steering committee, any further discussion or questions? And appreciate all of this sharing and providing the commission with examples and illustrations. So appreciate that. Are there any other matters to come before the commission? All right. With that, is there a motion and a second to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. The May meeting will adjourn at 4:47 p.m.